I'm great. Ethan is great. I am great. I am great. Ethan is great. Ethan is great. 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 Whew. My beautiful plants. Yeah, I love the plants. Woo! I love my plants. Today we just record formulas. Okay. Now we have types of stress. We have the shear stress. Yeah, types of stress. We have shear stress. We have tension. We have compression. So we have shear, tension, and compression. Compression is you have equal force and you exert it on the two probably sides of a cube, then or a cubeboard. That's compression. Then tension is when you drag this thing. You apply a pulling force on the sides of a cube or keyboard. Then the shear is when you apply equal but opposite directed force on the edges, okay, of the keyboard. So shear stress tends to destroy things. Shear stress can destroy things. Tension tend to put it apart. Compression tends to squeeze things in. So we have shear stress, compression, and tension. So these are types of stress that we have. So we have shear stress over shear strain is equal to bulk modulus. Then we also have F is equal to QVB sin theta, V is equals F is equal to DEV, and that's what we have. Then we have electrons have a particular way it behaves when crossing the magnetic field. Then we have electrons have the way it behaves, and protons also have the way it behaves when crossing the magnetic field. Then I think one of them goes down, the other one accelerates upward, or jacked upwards. Then I really need to confirm this. Is Stefan Boltzmann's constant. Then arrow is equal to kt raised to power 4. Is that Stefan Boltzmann's constant? That's something else. KT raised to power 4. That's talking about boom. I think I've forgotten this. I have to move for that first. When I go other places, I'm going to remember that one. So I also talked about charge density. Charge density is equals to quantity of charge over area. That's for charge density, and that's it. So there's more charges at pointed edges, than at smooth edges. So that is talking about charge density, quantity of charge per unit area. That's charge over area. Then we also talked about I talked about many other things. Then I read many other things. We also read many other things. Then isochoric process, adiabatic process. Then we talked about these are gas laws, other gases, how gas will behave when something is being done to them. Then we also talked about when change in volume is zero, what happens, is that isochoric or adiabatic, etc. Then we also talked about rate of effusion, Then we also talked diffusion. We also talked about those stuff. We compared them, the rates between two gases, oxygen and hydrogen or whatsoever. Then We talked about R is equals to PL over area, and F is equals to KI square L over D, Q is equals to AKT, T is equals to temperature gradient, T2 minus theta1 over L, that's temperature gradient. Then we talked about many other things. Yeah. Well, I also think life is better lived when we go through the process. For example, I think this is my plant now. It went through the process. That's why it is now a plant. It was a seed, then now it's a plant. I think it went through the process. We have different cells. We have cells that form the leaf and the leaves, and we have cells that form the shoot, and we have cells that form the root. I think each of these cells have different functions, though hormones are also produced in these plants which instruct the cells on what to do. So, but each of them have different functions, different roles. But if they didn't go through the process, the first process of anaerobical germination under the root, then and other things before it germinates into the plant, then after that you have the plants, you have the leaves and everything. Like without going through the process that needs that seeds go through, this will not become a plant. So going through the process is really very important. I really do think so. The difficulties of life shapes. I think life is full of life has its difficulties. Right, some of these difficulties can be avoided, can be overcome. Some of them are like sent, probably they are allowed. But I think the life's difficulties has its own benefits. I really do think so because the difficulties of life shapes us. The difficulties of life shape us into who we need to become, because the truth is environment causes variation. Environment can affect how the genes will express itself. So when these if this that's why sometimes the difficulties are important, because the difficulties can shape how we express our genetic information. So when this happens, it shapes who we are, because the life's difficulties is inside the environment. So, but it's not really. There are some difficulties that are good. There are some difficulties that are really bad. There are some difficulties that are really terrible. The ones that are terrible can be avoided. While there are some difficulties that we must encounter in life, I really think so. Yeah, but those ones are there to bring out the best of who we are there to shape us into who we need to become. And I think life's difficulties are like vitamins. It gives us immunity against anything in this earth. By the time one goes through all challenges, I really do think you won't be afraid. Such individual will not be afraid of anything. Such individual will not be afraid of anything. Such individual will not be scared. So it helps to give us immunity in this earth when we go through life's difficulties. Then I also think number 3 is when we go through life's difficulties, it helps us to life's difficulties help us to become stronger, because a person who overcomes life's difficulties is stronger and happier, because he's not afraid of anything. Okay, that he has overcome the greatest should I say greatest fighter on this earth. That's life's difficulties, that's overcome that thing. So he's not going to be afraid of anything. So such individual is stronger and better adapts in this earth. Then I also think another one is life's difficulties also kind of help to keep us warm in this earth, because without life's difficulties the earth will be too cold. That it will be too cold to live in. So life's difficulties helps to provides a warm background in this earth, so we can all live and be happy. But there are some difficulties that can be actually overcome. There are some that can be avoided. There are some that are really bad. For example, getting into debt is bad. So one has to overcome those difficulties, those ones. While there are some difficulties that Life will intentionally throw them at you. You know it's not your fault, but they will just come. Those ones are there to make us better, to make us probably what is a weak point we have, and those difficulties are like torchlights that helps to illuminate the dark room within us where this weakness is. So difficulty sometimes can be a pointer to your weakness or to whatsoever you have not really worked on. So whenever there's like life difficulties are of two forms, the good ones, good difficulties, and the bad ones. The bad ones can be avoided, and every human being I think so should avoid those bad difficulties. Should try to make his or her life better and more energetic. So but the compulsory difficulties that make us better, I think when we go through those ones, we should accept them and actually change what we need to change. Yeah. So I think also the someone's like people do say invention necessity is the mother of invention. So whenever there's necessity, there's always invention. So people won't know how good they are except when there is a need, a very high demand. For example, if someone like for example, let's assume something happens to the earth and we need to come up with a machine that will take us out of this earth. I'm telling you, man, we are going to manufacture that machine. But that's it. We're going to create that machine. So when there is necessity, like there is invention. So that tells us who we are. So sometimes the heat of life tends to tend to act like this necessity, this pressure that chairs were created because of the deep need for us to be comfortable, the deep need to have a well-defined place we call sitting room. I think that was why chairs were developed. Freezer was developed because of the need to be able to keep your food and have a comfortable life. That was why freezer was developed. If necessity is the mother of invention, then and the more we invent, the more we get satisfied. Then that means the more we invent, the lesser we become creative. That's why we must actually entertain these good life's difficulties. Yeah, these good life's difficulties, because these life's difficulties, the good ones, act like this pressure that keeps on driving us, so that as we create more, we will not let that same result sort of regulates the input. So that's feedback mechanism in biology. I think same thing is happening. The more we create, the products we see around sometimes act like a regulator that regulates our inputs. Sometimes when we achieve our dreams, we become less motivated to move forward again. So I really do think